Hello, people. Thanks again for watching. And today we're going to be focusing on how we overuse the word people. So, people comes from the French countable noun peuple, meaning a people. And so, in fact, it is at its root a singular noun. When we talk about a people or people, we mean a tribe, folk, society as a whole. But to illustrate that people is not solely plural, have a look at this chart. So we talk about a free people, a whole people, a great people, a civilized people, a conquered people, a peculiar people, a barbarous people, a scattered people, and a willing people. Now, this aspect is not dealt with in mainstream course books. And then we have the use of people, like American people, English people, where the article can be used or not. The alternatives for people. So as I mentioned, it's generally becomes meaningless, overused, annoying, rather redundant. My advice, therefore, is to avoid using people wherever possible, whether in speaking or in writing. Why? First of all, people comes from peuple, as I mentioned. It's used in different ways in English. We use it for contexts such as populations, citizens, tribes, etc., where it is generally singular, and unlike what we hear in language classes, may actually be pluralized. Peoples. And that's not just restricted to advanced learners or speakers. Although you may think that you are trying to sound friendlier, it can also become annoying as it tends to carry overtones of persuasiveness while labeling everyone of something or other. I also hear generalizations like most people and many people. But what does that actually say? People, if not overused or redundant, actually is a lazy word, as is the superlative most and more even. Why is it considered redundant? Sometimes you can just use the determiner those. And so in the statement, with the people responsible for the event, just replace people with those responsible for the event. Alternatively, write the organizers of the event. Depending on the context you're writing or speaking about, there is actually a wide range of choice alternatives. In a business context, for instance, you can replace people with personnel, staff, the team, co-workers, etc. So it's usually too informal a word and is vague or lazy. Use precise words like youngsters, adults, teenagers, citizens, and so on. Then again, you can leave it out altogether. So many were disappointed about, except that many itself is also a generalization. I would consider rephrasing. The bottom line is, unless we are distinguishing the animal kingdom from humans, there's no need to specify people, especially if we can say we or citizens, denizens, etc. The graph shows that the percentage of people who left the established churches has grown a lot since the 1970s. So here people is used appropriately and effectively, as the word and the graph illustrate a population. In the context of above, it means citizens not belonging to any particular organized religious faith. And so it is much simpler to say people. If you want to use people to be simple, go ahead, but don't overuse it. Try not to sell your ideas just by using people. More other than not, the use of people is overly used and redundant. Bearing in mind that context is everything, there are other alternatives we can use. Generic pronouns, demonstrative adjectives, other words, other nouns to describe people. Possessives, objective pronouns. Reflexive, it is inclusive rather than exclusive. Superlative, nominalized adjectives such as the rich, the poor, the elderly, and so on. And here English people, the English. If people can be left out of your sentence, then do so. Very often it's understood anyway from the context, and unless you're making a comparison to some animal species, it's redundant. We can argue that people is pleonastic, and so it's not about rules, it's more about style and eloquence and getting the message across more precisely in this case. Finally, I know you may argue that we sound friendlier, but it also sounds annoying, like when we use the word they all the time. The bottom line is that people does not exclude you. Saying they and them makes you excluded from the reality. Thanks for watching.